Hey everyone, this is Lisa from Life in Layouts, and I am back with Simple Stories Saturday, and this is a Christmas edition. I'm going to be using my Simple Stories Say Cheese collection to document some photos of Disney, and I'm going to be using these sketches for 6x6 paper pad, and this is a 2-page sketches. There's 20 of them, and yeah, I don't follow the sketch at all. We have some issues. So I started thinking about this layout and the layout I wanted to create for Simple Stories Saturday. I knew that it was going to fall in the middle of my Christmas in July, so I knew that I wanted to do some type of obviously Christmas photos. I really loved my last Simple Stories layout that I did, which was the spring layout with all the 2x2 squares. So I started looking for a sketch that had 2x2 squares. And I knew that I was going to be working on some Disney photos, and I knew that Simple Stories had the sheet of 2x2s because that's what they do very well. So I knew that I could incorporate that. And I found the most gorgeous layout. This particular sketchbook was also a Facebook group. So in the Facebook group, people would post their layouts based on the sketches. And there was one in there that was gorgeous. And it was a Disney layout, which was a like character dining. And so I was like, yep, that's it. I'm going to take inspiration from that and from the sketch, and I'm going to do my gingerbread house photos. So I'm looking at the sketch, I'm looking at the paper, I'm picking out my photos, and I'm like, this is going to be amazing. And when I went to get the photos printed, which I printed them from Walgreens, they had like a 15-cent sale, and I knew that I wanted to print a bunch of them. My thought process, first of all, was there's only 3 photos. Obviously, I have some 2x2 photos in here, so those photos, there's 6 of them. But I was like, that just doesn't seem like a lot of photos for a double page layout. When I sat down to do this layout, the sketch calls for 3x3 photos and 3x3 squares of paper, not 2x2. And while it may seem like 2x2 and 3x3 is not that much difference, when you're putting it on a layout, it is a huge, huge difference. So I had to pivot quite a bit because I was like, I've already planned this out. I already have this in my mind as to what I want to do, and I'm just going to figure it out. So I was on a Zoom call with Nicole over at Collybing, and I was putting this paper down and I sent her a picture of it. She was like, yeah, no, I would have preferred to have the paper grouped together by color. And I was like, okay, because I definitely was not liking the way that this was coming out. There was way too much paper. There was not enough photos. You guys know that I love to be using some 4x6 photos. When I moved the paper around and grouped it by the colors, things just started to fall into place because my thought was not only will I group these particular pieces of paper by color, I'm also going to blow up some of the photos, like in the sense of having instead of 2x2, I'm going to have 4x4. So you can see here that I'm like pointing to different things. I'm actually talking to Nicole. So I sent her a picture and I was like, this is what I'm thinking. I'm going to put a 4x4 here and a 4x4 here. It comes together very nicely, but it was definitely a winding road to get there. These photos are of the gingerbread houses at Walt Disney World. A lot of people don't realize, but Disney will build these gorgeous gingerbread houses at Christmas time, and they are massive. And this was the first year that I found out about it, and I was just blown away with the amount of detail that went into these gingerbread houses. Now, I found online this holiday gingerbread resort hop guide thing, and it gives you in some instructions in regards to what hotels to visit. So we followed that. For my title, I wanted it to be gingerbread. And I was looking online trying to find a font that I liked. Nicole actually found a really cool font that looked like cookies, and she was like, you could take this font and then stitch it. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. But the detail that I want on this title, that's a lot of stitching, and the letters would have to be huge to be able to get the stitching to look nice. And then I came across this particular font here. This is a font that you can download, and I will link it below for you guys. And then what I did was I took the font and manipulated it in first in Canva, and then used my print and cut feature on my silhouette to first print it out and then cut around the edges so I didn't have to fussy cut the letters. And I love this title. Like it is a gorgeous, gorgeous title. But it was looking a little flat. So I decided to cut it out again on my silhouette 2 times. So I was going to stack it. And I had done this layout right after my other layout, which was the first layout that I did with Dickers. And that was Life is Better on the slide, and I'll post it here. I almost immediately understood Nicole's thought process when she said that dies were just better. You can absolutely do this technique. Obviously, I've done it here with the silhouette. It's just a different feel. The dies give it a rounded edge, and when you stack them, they almost sit inside of each other like a cup. Now, obviously, not as detailed as a cup would be or as deep as a cup would be, but they just sit differently. And so I love the fact that I was able to put 2 pieces of white cardstock behind these letters and give some dimension to it, but it is truly different than dies. So I understand Nicole's love for Dickers, and I will post her video here explaining all about what Dickers are. So if you don't know what Dickers are, she posted an entire video of it. And from that video, I was like, I need all the things. I need everything that she has to make Dickers. So I went out and purchased all of those things. Will I do Dickers on every single layout? No, probably not. It's a lot of work. You guys know my love for stitching, and that's a lot of work. So having 2 things on my layout, that's a lot of work. Stitching and Dickers, I would probably never get a video up. So, all right, guys, I have rambled a lot, and I knew that this video was like 20 minutes long, and so I knew that I had the opportunity to ramble quite a bit. So let's get into the layout because I really haven't talked about the layout a whole lot. I cut out all of the 2x2 squares using my Big Shot, and I have the die. I'll post it below. It gives it like a stitched edge around the 2x2s. One, you guys know that I cannot cut out anything straight. Even using the dies, I had problems with it. So it was a hot mess. But I cut all of the 2x2s out and then grouped them together by color. And I tried to keep the colors consistent with like maybe some colors that were on the photos themselves. When I put the photo of the carousel, which that horse over on the left, I want you guys to really take a close look at that horse. That is made out of gingerbread. And that horse and the entire carousel moves like a carousel would. It blew my mind. I'm like, oh my goodness. So that 4x4 that's over there on the far left, and then that photo of the kid with the snowman, I decided to put them like edge to edge and then thought that I had cut my photos correctly, and I didn't. So I had to move that red 4x4 over. Now, I didn't do a really good job of cutting out the 2x2 squares, so what I decided to do was ink up the edges. And my thought process was I'll ink up the edges to match the color that's on the card. Kind of genius idea, if I say so myself. That meant that I had to pull out like 6 ink dyes. My fingers were a hot mess of all kinds of colors because I was pulling off the little foam pieces to move them around. I only have one dauber thing. I don't know what they're called, like the thing that you put the ink pads on. I have another one. I have no idea where it is. I got it free from scrapbook.com. Like, you know, when you purchase so much, you get like free items. And one of those was one of those things. Who knows where that thing is? For a couple of the photos, I did decide to put white paint on the edge of them because there was just really dark photos. The 4x4 photo at the top is at the Contemporary, and that gingerbread house was a representation of Cinderella's castle all decked out in its 50th anniversary. So it had Mickey and Minnie sitting next to it. And it also had It's a Small World flair to it as well. So it had some of the pieces from It's a Small World. But because it was so dark, I had to use that white paint to kind of give it a little bit of an edge. And I didn't want to back it because I was already having 2x2 photos. They were super small. This particular blue that I'm using now, it just wasn't working. It's like a really light blue, so I actually ended up using the ink pad on it. So what I was trying to do was cover up some of the imperfections of the squares. Now here's where I stopped the video to show you the difference between the gingerbread letters. I did use my ink pad, I believe Vintage Photo, to ink up the edges. Because I had used white cardstock, you could really see the white behind the photos, and it was fine. I just wanted it to be a little less subtle. So after I used the ink, you can see that it just gives it more of almost like a cookie edge. You know, like when a cookie is cooked, like the outer edges are a little bit darker than the inner edges. Well, at least my cookies, because I like my cookies to be soft in the middle and like kind of crunchy on the side. So that's what I was kind of going for with this. So I get the word gingerbread down. Gingerbread is a very long word. On my silhouette, I had spaced it out so that it was perfectly a 12 by 12. I actually ended up putting it on 2 lines so that I could make it a little bit larger because I wanted to go edge to edge. But then when I put it down, I put a little too much space between the letters. So I had to pull some of the letters up and move them around to make sure that they actually fit. And they are a tight squeeze. They almost kind of touch each other is how close that they are. I mean, there's a little bit of space, but like we're talking hairline little. So once I get the letters that I had put down back up and then get all of the letters down, I am also going to use the glue press to just make sure that all of the pieces are down as well, since some of them had come up when I was moving them around. All right, so back to the photos. So we have our first set of photos, which is the beach club resort that has the carousel that turns, which is amazing. We have the contemporary, which is the one at the top there, and that had the 50th anniversary flair. Over on the right hand side, we had the Boardwalk Inn, and in that resort, it looked like the Boardwalk Deli, which that was so amazing because like Mickey and Minnie were in the deli, like making sandwiches and stuff. There was all kinds of detail in the front of what you would see in front of a deli. So like little tiny chairs and little tiny Christmas trees. It was just super, super cute. So that's the third resort, and that's on the bottom right hand side. Once I got the gingerbread word down, I used these tile stickers, and it did take me a little bit of finessing to figure out what letters I could use so that I had the entire title in one color, because my title is Holiday Gingerbread Resort Hop. That is a lot of letters. I actually just purchased a new die, and Sue over in Nicole's Facebook group has created a template for us to use with this new die that's going to allow me to cut out little tiny tile letters. So I've ordered that die. It's supposed to be here shortly. I'm so excited about it. And I will let you guys know as soon as it comes in and if it works out, because you know sometimes our templates take a little bit of finessing. Sue has the die already and she's got it working, so I know that she's an amazing person and has amazing talent. So I'm sure it was going to work perfectly, but I'm super excited about getting that because then I can have the exact right colors of every one that I want. All right, so I got the title down. I started working on the right hand side of the paper. Up there at the top, I've got the 2x2 squares in the red, and then I also have that 4x4 card there with the wreath. I felt like I needed like a almost like a white space. There's not a lot going on in that 4x4, and it kind of gives you a spot for your eyes to rest because there's a lot going on this layout. And then down at the bottom, I have the Boardwalk Deli, and then also the 4 2x2 squares down there in like that cream color. And then the focal photo, which is going to be the 4x6 photo that's going to be on the right hand side, is at the Grand Floridian. And this is by far the most gorgeous gingerbread house that I have ever seen. This thing is like 7 feet tall. Let me repeat that. 7 feet. It is taller than me, and you can see it in the picture here shortly. 7 feet tall. Constructed solely of gingerbread, and it is complete with a little Santa, and each one of the windows has Disney characters on it. It is a sight to behold. So if you are at Disney World during Christmas season, and that is usually anytime mid-November to all of December, and sometimes like a couple of days into January, doing the resort hop to see the gingerbread is a must do. A lot of people don't realize that you do not have to stay at the resorts to go and visit them. We go and visit the resorts all the time, and there's so much going on there. Once I got all of the cards and photos down, I decided that I needed some separation over there on the far right. I needed like a full 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So I used my border strip because I'm like really in a border mood right now. And like I feel like everything needs a border to cut out this black polka dot paper with all of the colors on it. A majority of that gets covered up. But I liked how it flowed from the full seam of the 12 by 12 on the far left and then almost all the way to the edge of the right hand side of the layout. So it had this kind of hard stop. Once I got the black paper down, it still was missing something. And so I had this little pink strip. I added that to the edge, and I feel like that just finished it off and it gave it that final finishing edge. There is very, very little pink in this collection, but I pulled in this pink cardstock and I feel like it just really popped in all four of these layouts that I'm doing for Christmas in July. Since I had inked up the gingerbread word, I went ahead and inked up the little tile stickers as well in the green, and I added those to my title. And then I start to work towards embellishing. I knew I wanted to have this 4x6 photo and then also this 2x2 photo over on the right hand side, but I felt like they were getting lost. So I did back them on that pink cardstock as well, and I feel like that really made them pop against all of that that's going on over there, which is a lot. This is one of those layouts where with the spring one, there was a lot going on, a lot of detail, a lot of embellishments, and it just flowed very well. This one there's a lot going on. There's not a lot of embellishment. There really is just a focal point on the 2x2 squares. I didn't add anything really to the 2x2 squares, but I feel like it's a lot, and I'm not even close to being done. So I start to embellish, and I am putting all of my embellishment pieces down. And then I was like, you know what? I know that I want to have a lot of journaling on this layout. So before I put any of the embellishments down, like truly put them down, I probably should go journal because I haven't been journaling a lot. I've been saving that for the dark side content, and I'm going to walk through all my journaling on that. But this one was one of those that I was like, I need to do my journaling. So I thought, let me just put all of it down so that I have it in its place, and then I can figure out where I want my journaling to be around the embellishments, because I knew that I wanted my journaling over on the far right hand side where that white space is. And I had intentionally left a large white space so that I can put a lot of journaling over there. So for my clusters, I'm really containing them to that white area in the center and flowing over a little bit to the right-hand side on the other side of that photo. But if you look at the layout its entirety, it really just kind of flows to that area there. And then all of it changes, because do you see that journaling? Both sides of that, the entire 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper is journaling for this layout. Yep, that's right. This layout. I went way, way overboard. Just so much journaling. I did think of this idea because I was struggling with all of my journaling strips to put washi tape on my journaling strips so that they will stay in order, so I don't have to continue to try to figure out what order they go in. I don't always get them exactly 100%, so I do always check them, but this was so much easier. So I'm getting my journaling down, and you can see my strips there. I was like, okay, I'm doing well. So I thought, let me go ahead and cut these off so I can see exactly how much space it is. I did use Nicole's technique of doing a left justified instead of a center because I knew that I needed a little bit more space. But then this is where it comes in, where I'm like, I don't know. Like, do you see how much more journaling I have? This is crazy how much journaling I have on this layout. I have to take up the photo and all those embellishment pieces because I knew that I could not fit all of the journaling on it. So as I'm working through that, let me read the journaling. Disney's gingerbread houses are not your average cookie cutter creations. They are life-size storybook wonders. This year, Mom, Eli, and I decided to embark on a holiday gingerbread resort haunt. And boy, were we in for a treat. Celebrating their 50th anniversary in grand style, Disney pulled out all the stops. While we only managed to swing by 4 out of the 11 resorts, the ones we did see were absolutely mind-blowing. For each one of my photos, I'm going to add a number that's going to coordinate with the numbers that are on my journaling. So number 1 is going to be the Disney Beach Club Resort features a classic carousel that actually spins. This year, each horses celebrate a different Disney princess. Number 2 is going to be the Disney's Contemporary Resort features a Walt Disney World's 50th anniversary overlay, complete with 11 hidden 5-legged goats. Number 3 is going to be Disney's Boardwalk in Gingerbread House was inspired by the Boardwalk Deli. It includes small details like benches, topiaries, and the deli fountain sign. Mickey and Minnie are inside cooking up some delicious food. And then number 4 is going to be the Grand Floridian, and it says Disney's Grand Floridian Resort featured colors and accents inspired by the signature iridescent book. The nearly life-size gingerbread house stands approximately 7 feet tall and 12 feet wide. And you can see there that I used the Simple Stories color vibe stickers to add the number to each one of the photos. And I chose different colors to kind of match the 2x2 squares that were next to them. And then over on the far right, I used the same color in the tile sticker on the journaling itself. So the entire right-hand side of the layout has journaling, and I still feel like this isn't enough. So I actually ended up creating a video that I'm going to post at the end, and I'm going to create a QR code to add to the layout to link to that video of all of the pictures of the resorts. They are actually not pictures that I took, they're pictures that were taken by somebody else. And in that video, I also linked to all of the blogs where I got those photos so that you can actually go read the details about the resort gingerbread houses as well. All right, guys, that is it for this video. Here is my final layouts as well as some close-ups. Thank you so much for spending the time with me today. This one was an extra long one, but I think that these photos deserve an extra long video because they are just beautiful. At the very end, I am going to link the video that I created with all of the photos so that if you want to go check that out, as well as I found another video on YouTube of someone else doing a tour, and she shows you all of the gingerbread houses. So definitely go check that out as well. I don't have any affiliation with her, but I just found it and I thought that was a really awesome video of the gingerbread houses that we toured and she also saw as well. All right, if you enjoyed this video, if you wouldn't mind giving me a thumbs up, I would really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already and you want to see more double page layout inspiration, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope that you have a scrappy day.